equally humbled to be a part of this sister movement. I'm going to share very briefly with you why it is so important to me personally today, sharing with you. I came from a woman supported by a man. My mother, after giving birth to 7 children, 8 years later, she got pregnant with me. And I was raised by my 4 sisters. I had 3 brothers, 4 sisters. So I was raised by my 4 sisters. After age 7, our mother became crippled. She was an invalid. Many years after she came out of it, based on the fact that I was able to find the material to assist her in her recovery as a child. So I got involved in herbology. I went to the United States when I was 21, and I went right into beauty culture school so that I could learn to take care of our sisters and our brothers. I was also a barber, worked as a barber in the US Navy for 4.5 years before I went to the United States at age 21. Now, up to this day, I continue and will always be there for our women. Well, not just our women, but our children. Our children are being left behind in so many ways. So I am now in the process of finding the land to build a school free of cost to the children of Jamaica and our Caribbean. This school will graduate each year 100 children because we're giving 100 scholarships to 20 schools, 5 scholarships per school. We are right as we speak now in the process of getting the land so we can start the school. How are we going to do that? I've written so far 8 books, none of which on the market as yet, but they will be out there. I've done 32 documentaries, television programs. Let me just put it so Let's Call Health is the name of my TV show. And from the proceeds from the shows, we intend to share them with the world and use that money to build the schools. I've also made a pledge to the Jamaican children and our Caribbean children that whatever I make after expenses, and you're hearing from my mouth, the profit after expense will go to the children's fund to keep this school open and ongoing, long-term, not short-term. Why am I here today? Is to share with you sisters, our queens, our princesses, and our kings too, who are on the program listening today. The importance of life. But life starts with what we take in. If we don't eat, we don't live. It's just that simple. So I am going to speak briefly about food and the relationship between food and our organism, starting with the digestive system, because sickness really starts to develop in the gut. I heard Sharon mention about gut disorders or gut disease. The gut is very, very, very important for us to take care of. So, selection of foods, preparation of food, consumption, timing, they all mean a lot to the organism. It starts at the mouth. What you put in must come out. It's just that simple. But who is putting what in to this temple? Who is giving you these things? In what form? Because food yesterday is not the same as today. Not at all. Grains are not the same. They've changed them up. Mangoes are not the same. You have to really, really know mangoes to know the ones that have been bastardized. The same thing with your tomatoes. The same thing with your cabbage. The same. They're all, most all of them have been altered. So we have to know or learn to know the things that we are preparing. More times than not, persons go by way of sentimentality. This is what I am accustomed of having. My mother gave me just this. We heard about the aloe vera. And again, I'm just asking for everyone to have an open mind to what I'm saying, because too often people leave thinking or hearing other things, like I say, don't drink water. It's ridiculous. Or aloe vera is quite toxic. It is. But I bet you a person who recommends aloe vera to everyone would not like me sharing that kind of information. Cerasee is quite toxic, so we must know what you are able to tolerate. Well, the body is always sharing information to tell us, don't use that, or use this occasionally, sparingly, once a week, once a day, or twice a day. Well, who are you telling to have something twice a day when you may not know their present condition and where they're going forward or where they're coming from to recommend something once or twice a day? It can be kind of grainy and not total. So when we speak about macrobiotics, it's the fullness of life, the full study of life. We see the body as a whole and not as a part. So we work with the body from a systematic perspective and not a symptomatic one. People are always ready for a quick fix because we were taught, take this and call me in a week, or return in 2 weeks, and you'll be cured or healed. Well, we're not talking about curing here, nor healing here. We're talking about correcting disorders. Healing will always come once you understand or overstand balance, how to harmonize. Because the way it was yesterday, it was very rainy yesterday. Today it's dry where I am. It's dry and it's hot. So What may affect the blood one way yesterday when it was damp and cold, it may or may not at all do the same thing today. So if we don't know, when we are sharing these information, we can put a person in further danger when it comes to sickness or disorders. So that's why macrobiotics is seeing every cell as unique, every gland, every organ. The spleen does not eat the same type of nourishment as the stomach, its most related partner. The liver, it was mentioned a while ago, doesn't get the same type of nourishment as the gallbladder, nor the sebaceous glands located in the skin. They're all in the acid range, the acid phase of life, and not the alkaline phase. So if you don't know where that person is conditionally, and this is very important, we ought not to be just telling people what to do unless we fully understand. Who knows everything? None of us know everything. But we have to be careful here when we are trying to seek balance, harmony, that we know the process that must be taken in order to create a certain amount of balance within the blood system, so the cells, molecularly speaking, the cells, we have to know whether they're in good enough condition to absorb nourishment in the first place. Water, the most essential. It's not every cell taking in water. Some of them are so bombarded with acid, fatty acid, that they can't urinate, they can't defecate, they're not feeding, they're not doing anything. They're just there waiting to prematurely die. Well, I have to see the condition of the individual. The skin reflects everything. There is nothing that the skin does not reflect, even our thoughts. That's why sometimes people think I work magic or obya or some foolish, ungodly, devilish nonsense. God has given all these senses to us for us to use so that we can give praise to the Creator, our Father, Almighty God. Yes, and thanks to all our messengers who believe that Christ is real, who believe that all the messengers who came after or before, because he was taught. We must understand it's not as simple, even though it might be easy for me to see. I'm looking at a beautiful young lady. I'm trying to remember if that is Sister Chenzera. Am I looking at Sister Chenzera? Okay.
Yes, you're looking at the picture. I'm trying to not interrupt your presentation.
No, it's all one and it's all good.
Give thanks.
This is a very open-minded, most trustworthy young lady, very ambitious, creative. I think I said that. And this is a person who doesn't want anything from anyone. She is a very independent-minded young woman. So if I don't see these things, I cannot accept and appreciate her. She would be just another woman. Just like you look at a brother and say, oh, him, oh yeah, man, I know him, I see him, and you think what you want without actually knowing the individual. God gave us our eyes, our ears, our sense of smell, our sense of taste and touch for a reason. So, in order for us to get ourselves together, especially right now, before COVID and now so-called during COVID, we have to get our digestive system in order for us to build resistance. There is no resistance where there's confusion. So if your selection of foods is not up to level, well, you just eat anything. And you think you're being nourished because you eat expensive food or food prepared in the most fantastical ways. You might not be absorbing, or there might be so much corruption in the intestines. The blood has to follow because the nourishment is going directly to the blood, to the liver, to the gallbladder, and then to all the other organs and glands that are related directly or indirectly. So if we don't know, we have to seek. We have to seek higher knowledge, better information. People, those who have our people's best interests at heart, so that we can be guided. Because once you select things and you start to eat these things, the small intestines after the stomach must be in good condition. But here's the stomach. The stomach is most valuable, be it the upper chamber or the lower chamber of the stomach. One is dealing with protein, one is dealing with carbohydrates. Still fat. Still fat. One is just lighter than the other. But at the same time here, who are you feeding these things on? Because the small intestines are going to dump all that corruption into the large intestines. Well, every area of the colon, the ascending colon, the transverse and the descending colon, all the way down to the rectum, all have a unique purpose, because there is a correlation between these areas of the colon and other related organs and glands. So to ignore the gut by just eating what you want, how much you want, when you want to eat and drink, you're going to have problems, serious problems, especially during the menstrual cycle if you have one, or even if you don't have one, you're going to have problems. Because around the sigmoid area of the colon, going down to the rectum, all of those areas control your mammary glands, your reproductive glands, there is a correlation between these organs and our glands, particularly or mainly the hypothalamus as well as the thalamus. So if the gut is not right, your senses are not going to be fine-tuned. You fine-tune your hypothalamus, your thalamus, your hypothalamus, so that the connectivity can be made between the pineal gland and your pituitary gland. So if you're having problems with constipation, you're going to have hormonal problems. Every month your cycle is going to be off. Even if it comes every 28 days, there's going to be something there to signal you that the gut is not right. It's just like with your car. If the spark plugs are not clean, no matter how you try to start that engine, it just won't happen. The hypothalamus works that way when it comes to the pineal and pituitary gland. So once you are constipated, one of the biggest problems we have is anemia in our women. You know, men too. Don't think I'm just speaking about women, but today's lesson is to share with our sisters how important the digestive system is in relationship to reproduction. And when we say reproduction, we're not talking about having babies here. We're talking about the reproduction of cells. Langerhans cells are not the same as brain cells. They're totally different. Or the other cells, they're different. Islets of Langerhans cells created by the pancreas and the spleen, totally different cells to say the gallbladder itself that also manufactures insulin. The pancreas and the spleen are not the only glands that manufactures insulin. The gallbladder does that too. So if you are corrupting the blood, it is going to throw the entire endocrine system, the hormonal, reproductive and neurological system out of whack, and you are going to have a host, a plethora of problems during your lifetime. What we do in macrobiotics is to teach how to harmonize. A Brussels sprout, as I mentioned this morning in the conversation I had, is not a cabbage, but they're from the same family, but they have two different functionalities. One is bitter and one is full of water. You can hardly taste the bitterness in the cabbage as opposed to a bitter, small Brussels sprout. So just to get up and eat what you want at any time and to drink every and anything you can get because that's what you may like. Even water can be most damaging, because if the water is not live water and you get it into the stomach, into the intestines as dead water, you paralyze the entire digestive process by not having live water in your system. Well, you won't have the zest, the zeal, the vitality, as if you were having fresh water, live water. Well, you can get these things from fruits, wonderful fruits, vegetables, because these friends of ours, if we can call food our friends, because we live with food every day, they are able to store the water and protect the water molecules, the chlorophyll, the green stuff you see on the plants. They store and shield water from damage, from sun rays. So, yes, these things are wonderful, but most people cook their food. Not the same spirit as when you eat it live. But who are you giving live food to at the same time? Because if a person is diabetic, which is a digestive problem, and you give them only cooked food, they will never change that condition, because they're not getting any life, and diabetes is corrected by motion, movement, utilization, digestion, discharge. These are all things that have to be in place and put in place, which is what I do, is assist that person's organism to what we say in my gen, in Japanese, my gen is to discharge. If you're not discharging all that dead stuff, you're going to be in trouble. You're looking for information on live food. We have a brother who went to Panama with us, Dr. Latham. He's a genius when it comes to raw food. And it's a reason, it's a big reason. But for those of us who cook, occasionally cook certain things, because they have their value just the same, we have to understand what we're marrying with these wonderful things that we cook up or eat raw. Because a person, again, who's a diabetic, their digestive system cannot handle raw food in a wider variety that would suffice the entire organism. So there are many ways that we are able to enhance our health, our wellness, by way of understanding through change. Change will come once you apply appropriately. And it's important that we seek the balance that the Creator had in mind when we were put together. Harmony, balance is key. Without balance, we are lost. I mean, lost. So then you have all the different diet experts out there, and they have good intention, but at the same time, one man's medicine can be another man's poison. So here, we are always seeking perfection, and preparedness is what reveals the truth. We must take time to learn and share with our children. Just don't put a plate of food in front of them because it's what they like and want to eat at this particular time. Because what you're doing, you're actually duplicating the not too good of things that you do. Maybe what you saw your mother or your grandmother or your aunt or your uncle doing might not be the best advice. We don't always get the best advice from our parents. Sometimes we go out and we seek. We go to school, we go to college, we go to university, we go to friends thing, we go to forums like these, and we listen and we learn and put them to use. But the main thing is to share what we have with each other. Each one, teach one. Each one, only one love, one universe, one God, one sister, and one brother. So, the understanding of food, we are able to correct any known disorder that anyone listening to me, any disorder, we're able to correct it in time. People are just always in a hurry for a cure. I don't have a cure. People say that I cure people, and so I don't have that thing. I am not out there healing anybody because the body was already created to do that. You're not doing something that was already done. What we do is educate and re-educate, share about the inside of the temple and our surroundings. We must reconnect with our universe. Too many of us live away from that, and all we concerned with just what we put on or the fancies of life. And it might not be enough. Maybe for some, yes, but those who are seeking the truth must know it's all about digestive wellness. It helps the mind. Mind without body is useless. Body without mind can't go anywhere. And if we are seeking perfection, we must remember we have an emotional life. But man cannot live by bread alone. So our emotions, a lot of times we seek to have the best behavior and the best of this. No, if your mind and your body are not united, they're not in harmony with each other, your emotional life can never soar. It can never be elevated. And if it's not elevated, then your spirituality goes flatline because there's a connectivity between all four parts: mind, body, emotions, and spirit. That's where the light comes from when all four spark plugs are hitting the right chord. They're cleaned up, no contaminants, and you turn that switch on when you wake up in the morning and you're ready to serve God. You're ready to do all the good things. You're ready to not lie for the day, nor do anything that is going to harm anyone for the day or harm the universe or anything that God has put for us to enjoy. So harmony is what we seek. We seek perfection. We try to be as faithful as we can. Very important. Endeavor. We continue to drive and strive for better so that we can be happier and more peace, be more at peace with ourselves and everyone around us. That is key. That is where the love comes from. People can see it. Those who have like mind intention. So it's a little bit more than just a diet or a specific exercise. It's about love, that self-love that we all get from our Father, the Creator. And once you realize and recognize that that is it, and you live accordingly, there'll be a much better world for us to all enjoy. I prayed this morning for everyone that we have peace on earth, tranquility. But these things come from the blood, the blood, the blood. It's all about the blood. Any of the better books, if there's such a thing, that you read, they talk about the blood, especially the Holy Bible. It's about the blood, folks. And if you're not keeping those white blood cells away from contamination of fatty acids, you are going to have endocrine problems, because the white blood cells are there to protect the red blood cells from danger. But here you're putting red blood cells, food, into white blood cells. Either you don't know, or you're not thinking. You know, but you're not thinking because you want to eat what you want, when you want, how much you want. It doesn't go free like that. There is a cost for it. It's called punishment. And that's why today we are plagued in the Caribbean with all kinds of problems. Yes, they have it all over the world, especially the United States, England, Germany, all of Europe. They have problems, but our problems are just a little bit different because we
10 minutes to go.
We are melanated people, and our hormonal system, our endocrine system, our neurological system, they work a little bit differently than those who have less melanin. Everybody has some degree of melanin. But at the same time here, because we are melanated, we must learn the value of melanin and how uniquely different we are. So we must find out what are the things that will produce melanin. And once we are getting these things, how are we able to utilize optimally and then discharge the excess finished material? And that's my conversation today in sharing. So I'm leaving it open. If you're having questions, I would be more than glad to answer your questions.
We have a series of questions in the chat. Thank you so much, Dr. Ted Emanuel. And God is with us. Thank you for your school of thought on macrobiotic lifestyle and diet. It's been very efficacious, very educating, very educative. You know, you just said there's a cost for everything, and there's a cost to eat what we want, when we want, and how we want. And this is so true. It's something we should have uppermost in our minds. And as melanated people, we ought to know what will increase the melanin and how to get the right amount. But doctor, one of my first question will be about melanin. How much do we need, and do we ever get enough? And secondly, what is the challenge that you will leave with us? And then I'll collect the questions from the chat.
Okay, I'll do the first. Was that how we know how much is enough melanin?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we get enough?
The body is always regulating. That's what the hypothalamus does. It regulates. It tells you a shut off. It's just like when you're drinking water and you've had enough. It tells you to stop. But if you were using some salt before, or sugar, or protein meal, be it breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you're going to be compelled to drink more than you deserve. Do you get what I just said? The hypothalamus, it regulates everything. So, when it's a shut off point, how many times the food tastes so good you don't want to get up? Or if you get up, it's not to leave the table and not come back because you're satisfied. You're getting up and going back for seconds. And your second plate might be even bigger or more food than the first, because the first you were trying out. So you have a half plate or three-quarter or even a full plate, but then you say, wow, man, I can have some more of this. And you go back for second plate. When in the first place, you had too much in the first serving. But because of flavor, because of taste, because you just turn on to this fantastic meal, you go and stuff yourself. So what time of day or night are you having this excess food? Because if it's in the evening and you go to sleep, all of that food is going to stay there, and putrefaction is going to set in, and it's going to contaminate the blood, and the blood is going to set the entire endocrine system out of whack. It's like putting the wrong gas in your car.
Wow. This is powerful. We need to know this. This is very important.
So it's not
And you
just
said
about,
that.
it's not just about, we all, as I say, we all have melanin, but even in the black race, you see, we're all mixed up over these thousands of years. We're all mixed up. And guess what? We have different shades of black people, if you want to call us black people, because we're not really black people. People use that to identification. I'm saying we have different shades, meaning some of us have more, we're grown eating melanated foods more than others. Some of us eat the melanated things, but we don't assimilate and distribute evenly, because some organs might be sick, some glands might not be communicating well with, are you with me? So it's a systematic situation from as deep as a molecular problem. Cells have to breathe, they have to, and they have to be protected. That's why the melanin. Melanin is very, very important because it helps us to store information. So a lot of times we are so forgetful, and you have black people just as forgetful as white people. So it's not a racial type thing I'm saying here. And you have some white people more, they don't forget a thing. And you have some of us, we don't even remember our name. Melanin is very important for many, many things. That in itself is a lecture.
Dr. Ted, can you speak in relation to vitamin D or getting enough sun? It says that the color of our skin, which is a receptor or natural sunblock, prevents us from getting enough melanin. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. Well.
And then I'd like you to speak to the challenge that you're leaving with us.
Yes. Sun rays are very important to us, to our health, just like they are to the plants, the food we eat. Now, vitamin D in relationship to absorption is key, is very important. A lot of us, we work inside. A lot of us, we're just inside. And especially now, with this lockdown, locked in, whatever imprisonment you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, we don't get the vitamin D that we ought to be getting, and it doesn't go well with our immune system, right? Going out in the sun once or twice a day for a period of time, you cannot actually tell anybody you should be in the sun for 2 hours and you should be just for 10 minutes, just like that. As a skin specialist, we do recommend to people who are less melanated not to stay too long in the sun. Hence why I do this safe tanning workshops with our guests, our tourists, to protect them as our customers. We have to educate them because they don't know as much as we do, with all due respect, about melanin. But at the same time here, we educate our people about sunburns too, melanated people. Vitamin D, we supplement for those who don't get sun, but at the same time, we're not totally sure that their absorption factor is up to par. So we recommend that you do both if you can.
Thank you so much.
A little sun and as well as supplementation.
Just one last thing on melanin. What are melanated foods? Angela is asking.
Our grains. Okay. One of the most melanated food that you can have is the noni. From the noni. There's nothing that helps the pineal and pituitary gland as noni. Well, the pineal gland as well as the pituitary gland, they rely on the hypothalamus for information, for instructions. So if you want to boost your melanin production, go to noni. From the soil under the noni tree to the root of the noni tree, the bark of the noni, the flowers, the leaves are all important. The older leaves, they have a particular function, and it's different than the younger leaves closer to where the flowers are, where you find the flowers. The seeds of the noni, most important. Not just the protein inside of the noni, which is the oil, but the black seed, the seed itself. And noni grows all over Jamaica. And as sick, and I can use that word, as we all are, we don't take advantage of the noni fruit.
Doctor, I have to ask you to stick a pin there. This one is critical. For people with high blood pressure, we are told that noni can lower their blood pressure. We know that low blood pressure is not necessarily bad if you constantly have it, that's a part, you know, but you have to clarify this for us. This is very, very important for my understanding. I take noni every day. I have low blood pressure, but I am told by others, a nurse, I need it from you now. Is there any danger to taking noni every day?
No, it depends. It's just like drinking water every day. If you're drinking dead water every day, it will kill you faster than most things that you can imagine.
I can imagine.
It will shut down or cause the storage, if you're not releasing, can damage your excretory system, the water phase, the kidneys, the bladder, and the sudoriferous glands in the skin. So the skin, being the most valuable organ on the entire body, right? More times than not, when you are drinking dead water and you are not metabolically sound, which would make sense if the water is dead, you're not going to have the zest, the zeal, or the vitality to go and do any damn exercise. Excuse my French. So all of that lethargy is going to make such a difference in your spirit. And I see a lot of people walk around and they talk about light, but there is no spirit. Spirit brings light. Light is spirit, and they are one of the same. The skin is most telling. And that's why we say when you eat doughy things, doughy foods like breads and
biscuits, crackers,
and the hard dough crackers that they have, and be it from Jamaica or anywhere, the crackers that the denatured white flour, okay, and all the other things, the heavy ground provision, they all overburden the gut. Not that they're bad. Look at how much we have accomplished as a people eating ground provision. They were never given to those people who thought they were superior. They only gave those things to us to overburden our digestive system, which controls our hormonal and reproductive systems. So once you're doing that, it paralyzes the womb. So when you're eating up all these meat kind, all the beef and pork and goat and fish and chicken and all these things, nuts, especially nuts and seeds, I find a lot of our women rely on seeds for protein because they may be vegetarians or vegan. So everything vegan now is nuts, seeds, and so forth for the protein. But protein, excess protein, is one of the things paralyzing our reproductive organs, systems, and phases of the body. Fibrosis is one of the biggest problems in our society. 90% of our women have fibroids or will develop fibroids. And that's a big problem because it paralyzes the entire hormonal and reproductive systems. So that in itself is another lecture.
Indeed, you have raised continually throughout about water.
Yes.
And water that is not clean, we know what it can do, but dead water. It says, would alkaline bottled water be considered dead water? That's a question we have there. And there are other questions.
I like that one because
what is live water and homemade distilled water?
Live,
that's considered live.
Water is water that is flowing, moving, motion. Water must have motion. It must vibrate. It must circulate. It must move around to stay alive. After sitting in a store for 3 days, water dies. It takes a sudden dive. It starts to lose its vibrancy. The vibrations go, and it becomes like a settled pond of water. What comes out of a settled pond of water? You get lilies. You get the most beautiful lilies out of a pond that's not moving. I'm just throwing that in there. Are you with me? Water must move. That's why exercise is crucial, even if it's just walking, to get the water circulating. The cells do things within themselves to charge the body already. But the more of that dead stuff you put in and you feel lazy-minded and whatever, and you don't have that get up and go, then you start to just not do anything. One day after another, then you stop all of your activity. But you're still eating and drinking. So if you're drinking dead water and you're eating cooked food at the same time, you're not going to go far. You're not going to see well. You're not going to hear well. You're not going to be too friendly because of contamination, stagnation. Anything that stagnates, if the river that is flowing overflows on your land and it stays there, it kills everything. Unless you're going to plant rice in it. I'm joking. Are you with me? If that water gets on your land and it doesn't move, that water will poison your plants. It will destroy your crop. Am I correct? Yes, it does the same thing within you. When those sweat glands become overburdened with urine, because that's what goes there, all right? Then those glands can't function well. So excretion of all that toxic material, and you know what's in urine, you know, it must leave the body. So that's why my gen to discharge is so important. People brag to me and say, oh, I don't sweat. I hate to perspire. I don't like the, and they're so wrong. You have to perspire. That's why you have those sweat glands. You have to release also fatty acids. That's why you have the sebaceous glands. When they are underactive, overburdened because you prefer fried fish, fried steak, fried lobster, fried shrimp, fry everything, butter in your bread that already has lard and other things in it, you know, shortening and all kinds of other foolishness. And you take that into your temple. Don't go out and talk about light. It's not a criticism. It is the truth. The body does not like those things. It was not designed to just hold on to things and not let them go. They're not yours. They were given to us to utilize and pass on back to the earth or to infinity, if that's the place. So it's still sharing. It's all about sharing.
So we have a few more minutes, Doctor, and we have a few more questions.
Let's ask the questions.
What is the root cause in losing sense of smell and how to restore? And then secondly, how can one treat or cure the ovaries?
Okay.
And
the first
so
one,
Yamin could add to that. She's asking that question. I don't understand all of it.
The first one, how to regain your sense of smell. Clean your gut. There's only one way to do that. clean your gut. And then the hypothalamus and all the mechanisms around it that support it will assist your sense of taste, smell, touch, and all those things. If you are clean digestive wise and your back is turned and someone comes behind you, even 10 feet behind you, 20 feet behind you, you would know.
Okay.
Because you will pick up the frequency, you'll pick up the vibration, you would know someone is in your space. And your space is just not limited to your hand reach. That's not so. That's why we can stay here in Jamaica. And if something happens to someone that we know, we can pick up the frequency and we make a phone call and say, hey, you all right, sister? Are you all right, brother? I was just thinking about you. And it is a fact. I do it all the time. Not that I'm healthier than thou, but I try to stay on a path of righteousness.
All right.
Powerful, Doctor. Powerful. Manifesting our destiny and our greatness. Yamin, would you ask a second question?
Please.
The question is, someone who was just diagnosed with cancer of the ovaries in August now has problems in breathing because the cancer has moved to the lungs. What can be done in terms of using natural herbs?
Okay. First of all,
Thank you.
if a person is having reproductive problems, it still is a gut problem. So that person was constipated for a prolonged period of time and ignore the level of constipation. Occasionally, they may or may not go and get a laxative of one kind or another. Or sometimes they eat certain things and it allows them to pass their stool. But constipation is a funny thing, you know. There's constipation and there's constipation. Because you can be constipated from the level of the tissues, the permeable tissues of the colon itself and the small intestines. But at the same time here, plaquing of stuff on the wall prevents the food material to get go through the villi into the system to be processed. So that is another conversation. But the reproductive and hormonal systems, they're all controlled by the hypothalamus, which relies on a harmonious small and large intestines. Selection of food, consumption, preparation, consumption, utilization, all those things take place before you get to the small intestines. Once you get into the small intestines unprepared, that's where your trouble starts for the large intestine. So they both have to be there because the small intestines control the heart. If a person comes to me with hypertension or hypotension, underactive or overactive, I want to know the condition of their gut. The medical doctor will go directly to the heart rhythm and they will sound the rhythm of the heart and they will make the evaluation that way. That is very short. It's myopic. It's too narrow because everything relies, it's a chain reaction. And you cannot just go after one part because you're having challenges with cancer of the womb, right? And then tell me now the cancer left the womb to the lung. Well, the colon controls the lungs. You can't breathe unless your colon is in good condition. If you're constipated, it is going to hamper breathing. If the small and large intestines are overburdened with stored fecal stuff, which you can carry anywhere from 6 to 30 or more pounds in your gut of fecal matter, and you see people go around with this protruded, overburdened stomach. You see it all the time. Well, then the body can't breathe. So from where the cancer is, it's going to go into the most convenient house, the less challenged place to set up shop. Beehives, the honeybees don't just put a nest or a hive every and any place for the queen. Duck ants don't build a nest just every and any place. They build it close to where they can feed or get food. So I am saying here, we have to be careful when they tell us the cancer left from this part to that part. The cancer is already all over. You are the cancer. And it go where the hell it feels that it's convenient to live longer. They're opportunistic. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Why do we want to kill cancer cells? Cancer is not killing anybody. It's the condition that you're in that destroys you. So as long as we stay relatively healthier, these friendly guys, they're calling their names, and they call it all kinds of names, conveniently. I am saying here, once your condition is in relatively good order, they won't go and overburden you with metastasis, with growth, but they're put there to facilitate. I have it on film, you know, if anybody, I shared it with the doctors here of Jamaica, Winty Davidson and all his crew. I shared it with them at all of our UE top physicians. On film, I shared it with them. I have my tape, okay? With molecular biology. These cells are put there just like lions protect the earth. But they will go up to Africa and kill off our lions, and our lions didn't bother them. They kill bees. Don't they kill bees? And without bees, we can't survive. I'm told that we will never survive if there are no bees on the earth. So they want to kill everything. I have people come to me and they're given days to live. Once they follow the therapy and do it wholeheartedly, a great majority of people that they turn away from the hospital or from their practice and said, there's nothing else we can do, the 99% of the people live, or even say less, maybe I'm overboard a few percentage, but it's not so now. I have too many people walking, working, and helping our nations, and who they're told to go home and die. It doesn't have to be that. Understanding here is key, and the blood is what carries the information.
Let's take a pin, Doc. Because of that, Dr. Ted, someone is asking, Angela, what is recommended for cleaning the gut?
What is recommended for cleaning the gut?
Yes.
There are several things. If you want to clean by way of vegetation, you can use certain spices and certain herbs. I use a combination of things. because what helps the stomach will not help its related partner, the spleen and pancreas. They're two different things here. One is an organ, and you have the spleen and pancreas, they're glands. What feeds the gallbladder does not feed the liver. Liver food is not gallbladder food. And what feeds your lungs will not feed your colon. Colon food is not small intestinal food because they're two different organs. If you notice, the small intestines are very tiny, but the large intestines, they eat a different type of nourishment. So you can't just say, I just like to eat this because it is good to clean my blood. That's why you see, I never get up and recommend aloe vera to every and anybody or cerasee to every and anybody. I have never done that. So it's an individualized situation. And that's why with this COVID thing, people thought that I would have a remedy for COVID. COVID is not bothering me. Not that I am exempt from COVID. I try to keep myself as safe and follow the guidelines, whether they're false or true. I try to seek out my own information and use my God-given understanding and sense to guide me. I put God in front. So I am saying here, it's not about the COVID, it's about your condition. When I was out this is not a I told you so. When I was out there doing my television programs, 48 minutes long each one, I did 32 of them. You can go on YouTube, put in Emanuel / Jamaica, and you'll see most of my shows. People weren't listening. I was talking about getting our slavish body back up to level, because today we are allowed to go to universities and this and that, and we have our degrees, but put your first foot front. If it's your right foot because you're right-handed, put your right foot forward. If you're left-handed, you put your left foot forward. I'm just saying here, there are rules, there are laws, there are principles to govern and guide us away from the shortcuts, away from the quick aspirin, away from the drugs. And I'm not knocking our doctors. I don't see people unless I recommend that the doctor they've been going to at least once or twice a year, they said, go back and, go and say, hey, doc, check my pressure, check my this if you feel like it. But I am saying here, the quick fix thing doesn't work, and they know that. That's why our medical doctors know. Thanks be to God. They're now embracing the truth about natural medicine. Food is life, food is intelligence, food is energy. And without food, sickness can never be definitively cured nor corrected. To answer your question, ma'am, I use rice, organically grown brown rice. I use that as a staple. But for me to tell someone just like that to go and eat brown rice to clean themselves and not know how to pick up after they finish cleansing and now wants to nourish and nurture the body, they have to learn that too, because there are steps. After you finish cleaning the engine of the car, you have to know what weight oil to put back in the engine, be it 10W20, 10W30, or whatever the spec in the manual tells you. You just don't go and just put any oil back in the engine. Then the mechanic has to fine-tune the car engine, the timer, and all those things That's the same thing I do with the food after cleansing. I start to make blood. Blood making is a different education here, because whose blood are you making? See, they're making this thing on naturalism too simple, which it is simple, but they're making it too simple. It's just about a leaf. It's just about some bush. No, 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 no. I just don't give people ginger to use just like that. Who am I
Dr. Ted?
giving ginger to as good as ginger is?
Dr. Ted, we have another question from Theo Chambers, one of our brothers, and then a word from Dr. Chinzira, and then our conclusion. Thank you so much. Theo, unmute your mic.
Hey, my brother.
I think you answered part of my question, and my statement was that the average person don't understand that we do not need food to survive.
Exactly.
We need energy.
Energy.
And therefore, we need to eat the food that will give us the energy that will turn around to make us live.
Exactly.
But we do not need food. We need a type of food that will turn itself into energy.
Then they need to.
And not all food, and majority of food that they eat right now cannot turn into energy because it's not built to give out energy.
Exactly. 100%. They should read your book. They should read your book, Theo. Theoism.
The Theoism available on caribstore.com.
Right. They should read your book, Theo.
Thank you so much.
I
And we'd
cannot
like
live by bread alone.
exactly.
Love it.
I love the way that you synthesize that, and the way that Theo offered that we need energy. We are energy. And therefore, anything that the body as a toxin, well,
There's a feedback. There's a bad feedback.
yes, I don't know
That's
where
better.
that's coming from. It's a little bit better now. Anything the body sees that is not energy will become toxic to the system, and so we'll be hastening our demise. So it's so important that we understand these differences: what's real food, what's live food, what's live water that we're consuming, what the body recognizes as such as food, so that it can be processed properly and not further damage our system. We need our gut to be clean, our intestines to be clean, and we need certainly to be able to feed every cell through cellular nutrition. I'd like to hear from Dr. Chinzira before she leaves. Dr. Chan? She indicated.
Greetings. I first and foremost just would like to say, I give thanks and praise for what you shared, Dr. Emanuel, because some persons that are naturopaths, I'm sure you're very familiar, will focus on being practitioners of health and providing treatment, in contrast to speaking of the whole body from the space of spirit, as well as physiological engagement. So I would really like to thank you for sharing that, because that's where the concern comes when we engage with allopaths, because most allopathic practitioners
She got cut off.
So I'm very grateful for you sharing that. I hope that you can still hear me. Are you, because I've been having some internet issues. Are you able to still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay, give thanks.
Yes.
And so ideally, the main question that I had was just really to reiterate what was shared in the inquiries in the chat, so that persons were comfortable in knowing what types of treatment, la otra palabra English, what types of maintenance would you recommend so that persons can prepare? Because some persons try to go straight into fasting, for example, and then it makes the inner organs just break down and they have a negative reaction. So like, what are some of the suggestions that you would offer in terms of what herbal intake they need to take, how much water they need to take, what type of exercise, what kind of air and breathing engagements they should do, so that way, between what challenge you give the group and the next time, that persons can see some support in regards to what you would highlight and support. I'm not trying to make you do a whole diagnosis right here, but I just would like to know some of the things that you would like to encourage persons to start, things that they can do between today and tomorrow.
Okay. There's a book, How to See Your Health, right? How to See Your Health. Persons who are seeking understanding or better understanding as to how we were actually put together and how we are able to maintain and sustain a longer life, a happier life, more peaceful life, not just within ourselves, but outside of ourselves. Now, for me to just throw out a diet, so-called diet, it may not, I should say, would not be fair to anyone out there, because there's no such thing as a one person's diet fits all. So it's quite challenging for me to do that, and it pulls me outside of my comfort zone, because I know it's not law, it's not biologically sound for me to do that. But I can tell you, there is a book, I'm going to hold it up so that you can see it. It's called Zen Macrobiotics. And it's by George Osawa, one of my teacher's teacher. Okay? And it guides you and it sets you up so that you can tailor a program for yourself. Exactly. There you go. That's right. So you can take that and tailor it for yourself, and you would learn enough that you can share and start to practice on your loved ones and your friends and relatives and so forth. But for me to throw out something and say to do this for that and that for this, I am not the person. I'm so sorry, but I can make suggestions as to what not to do, what can be helpful, and so on and so on. But, for me to tell a person with, say, a headache what to take, I wouldn't know how to do that, because a headache, you have different types of headache. You have a headache on the crown of the head that tells you that the heart is out of whack. You have headaches on your temporal area telling you that the spleen and pancreas are not doing well. These things happen when you may be taking in something that is sugary in excess or what have you. Headaches in the frontal part are different than the headaches behind your head, because you have a left part of your head, you have a right part of the head, and you have a central part of the back of the head. The upper, the middle, and the lower. So I have to know where the headache is coming from. You have a toothache, I want to know, is it the incisors, the molar, the premolars, or whatever. So for me to just say, do this or do that, would not do justice. And I hope you can appreciate that. I know you will.
Yes, thank you so much. I hope that we have handled most of your questions. We have 3 minutes to the end. Ted, I put your email, your Gmail And I put your telephone number for persons in the chat. And if it's okay, I could state it. It's tedemenuel@gmail.com.
Exactly.
And the number I should use is the 864 number.
Yeah.
And 876-864-2888.
And you can give them my office number, 754-8843.
754?
54-8843, same 876 area code. And
Okay, 876-754.
876-754-8843.
8843.
May I say
754-8843.
May I say
Thank you.
something in closing? May I say something in closing?
Please do.
Okay. I really appreciate today, sincerely. I'm looking at your beautiful picture, Sharon. That's what I'm doing here in order to focus on what I'm saying. I'm sincerely grateful, and I hope that I was able to share something or things of benefit. I know you can't please everyone. I wasn't here trying to please. I was trying here to satisfy the need for us to get healthier, and especially with our women, we are relying on you. Our society, our future. That's why our women are so precious to me.
Thank you, both of you.
Our men who are listening and those who are not hearing, you can just tell them I shared this. We as men have to start building healthy sperm cells. They are not doing it. Our young men are not replenishing, or they are not building the quality of cells that is required, that is really required for a healthier society. So we're leaving it up to you, the women, to continue to change our awesome world with really a good heart and that one love for the
Thank you.
future of our nations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's a brilliant closing message, and we'll take it to heart, definitely. And heart and motion, because in order to have life and have it abundantly, motion is important. And in order for those beautiful sperm cells to create life, they've got to be in motion. They got to be healthy and well. So motion is it. I'm wishing our holistic administrator, Patia Williams, will be sharing a certificate that you will be receiving, which is coming from our heart to yours.
I like the idea too.
Thank you. The one love call to action.
Okay.
That is given to Dr. Ted Emanuel today from our hearts for appreciation for what you shared with us. Thank you as a member of the Sacred Feminine that has come to educate and to preserve, help us preserve our lives so that we can live it more abundantly. Thank you so much.
I'll post it on Facebook, on Instagram, or wherever we can use it. I love it.
That will be awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Patia. And Yamin, would you like to say some closing words, please? Unmute your mic, Yamin.
I just thought of the song. Thanks, and this is to Ted Emanuel, our guest speaker, and all who attended. And it goes like this. Thanks, thanks, I give you thanks for all you done. We are so blessed. Our soul is at rest. Oh Lord, we give you thanks. I give you thanks. And finally, peace and love, 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 I live with you. Peace and love, when we say peace and love, 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 I live with you. Peace and love. And if you won't come, won't come, won't come. Peace and love, I live with you. Peace and love.
Blessed love. You know, we have a video too we'd like to share, but for those who must leave, it's 3:03. We did well considering we spent so much time. I think we used our time wisely. We gave Dr. Ted all the time he needed and to answer our questions and any other questions that you have. Could we send those to you via email?
Yes, you can.
If there are any other questions, that's beautiful. Thank you. And we're sharing